I'm Caleb Morse with the Armory Project. I also own the Rustic Renegade. We're an FFL that started holding firearms before the Armory Project existed. What we've done is kind of put together a small series of videos with some of our common questions on how the process happens and some of the issues that can arise. Something like storing an NFA item, something as small as a suppressor, up to a short barrel rifle or shotgun, to what happens if they get denied, or the conversations that happen beforehand. Hopefully this series of videos will help you out and ease your mind, as well as the person that you're trying to help. In regards to National Firearms Act or NFA items, such as short barrel rifles, suppressors, AOWs, any other weapon, short barrel shotguns, things like that. We'll talk about machine guns afterwards. You can only take them into your SOT bound book, your Special Occupation Tax bound book, on a Form 5 for repair. You cannot take them in on a consignment hold. You are not allowed to do that. You cannot use the repair portion of the Form 5 in conjunction with the consignment hold. That is 100% outside of the scope of the operation, and it could get you in a lot of trouble. If you choose to take NFA items in, you fill out your Form 5 from the individual to you and have it on file in your office or in your books, wherever you keep them. You do not submit that to the NFA branch. It doesn't have to go anywhere. You get a copy of their approved paperwork. Then you get your Form 5 showing it's coming in for repair. Then you can hold it and do your repairs. That's the ticket on these. If you use it for a repair hold, you have to do some form of repair. So you can clean the suppressor, you can maintain the suppressor. If you want to go ahead and say, look, it's a Silencer Co. or a Hugsworks or what else, from there you can ship it out to them even and have them service it under their warranty if you want to, as long as you maintain copies of those paperwork and you show the disposition going back to the manufacturer. If for some reason they decide they want to sell it to you, let's say they don't want it back, right? With an NFA item, there's no residual background check to give it back. So if they don't want it back, it has to be transferred from them to you, to your bound book, via approved, at that point, it'll be a Form 4, approved Form 4, and then you can sell it to someone else or do anything else. You cannot sell it even on consignment or anything else. It cannot even be in your store when you have submitted a form from them to you on repair. It has to be done beforehand. So NFA items are much more complicated. It's not something you're going to run into very often, in theory. If that changes, we'll make a new video. We'll change that to you'll see it all the time. But it's not something very, very common with these kind of issues. In regards to individuals who fail a background check for a pickup, the assumption is going to be that you took it in on a consignment hold. That's why they're the ones doing the background check in the first place. I like to, at that point in time, when I take it in, get a designated appointee of someone else that can pick it up as well. They would have to do a background check as well. And in there, it says that they would be picking up on behalf of or in lieu of. The in lieu of would mean that that person can't pass the background check. This other person would pick it up. It is not classified as a straw purchase because in there, I state that they will not return that item back to what we'll call the original owner or holder. That item will not go back to them. If they do that, then that's them committing the straw purchase, and you are not part of that transaction. If the individual doesn't have that in place beforehand, and they come to pick up their item, and they get it denied, you treat it as any other denial. You can let them know you took it in to help them out. You can let them know, look, you have to go through the appeals process. Once you appeal this, if they overturn this, you can pick up your firearm or your serialized item. We'll just use that term. If it does not get overturned, then your only option at that point is to sell it on consignment, buy it from them, or transfer it to someone else in their family, as long as they understand that they cannot return it back to the original owner. If they do that, they would be committing a felony. So it's articulating that long beforehand. That way, if you get an individual that does get a denial, this was discussed beforehand, you have the annotations in beforehand, and this is not a surprise to them. I also like to explain to them what would cause the denial in the first place. Any felony charges, violent misdemeanors, if they're going through any other issues, depending on what your state has, if they get a medical marijuana card, it would do that as well. So these are all in the conversations beforehand. The denials that I have had I had those discussions beforehand. We made sure we addressed it. That way, if it happened, I didn't have an upset person. I didn't have an upset, we'll call customer. I didn't have another person that thought I was out to take one over on them or screw them out of their item. I wanted to make sure that they understood that I'm doing everything I can to help them, that if they get a denial, they cannot get their item back. When we as members of the Armory Project go to take in a firearm, it has almost never been, hey, I'm having a bad day today, here's my gun. It's a series of conversations that happen beforehand. So during those conversations, I try to get the person to understand that it's my role to help them. I want them to feel comfortable with me, because if they don't feel comfortable with me, I'm not going to end up storing their firearm for them. And I want to be comfortable with them because I'm trying to help them. So if we have an individual that's begging for help or asking for help and says, look, I'm thinking of hurting myself. I'm going through a rough patch in my life, or it's been a rough season of my life, and I'm trying to do everything I can to make it better. I let them know that we can take the firearm in. I take it in either on a consignment hold or on a repair hold. Do the consignment hold, I articulate to them that they will be required by law to do a background check to pick up their firearm. At that time, I ask them to write down a designee for who they would like to pick up the firearm in their place, in case they're at a rehab facility, a mental health facility, or in case they want someone else in their family to have it and they no longer want possession of it. All of these things have happened with us. Then I get a copy of their driver's license and hopefully the designee's driver's license as well, with contact information from both. That firearm then comes into your consignment. That would go into your regular bound book on consignment. We have a separate safe that we store those in, and we put a tag on them in the bound book. When I say a tag, we put a line item on it that says TAP for the Armory Project. We don't do any other designation on there. We don't put or mark down mental health issues. We don't put down why we did it. We just put TAP. That way, whenever the ATF goes through and does your audits, they just see a TAP. They ask what that is. Hey, that's the Armory Project. It's this temporary hold thing that we do. And they move on to the next one. If you put down mental health or anything else like that, that brings up a lot of questions and may start a conversation that you don't want to have at that point in time, and it will slow down the entire audit. If you bring it on repair, when you bring a firearm in on repair from an individual, that means that they will not be legally required to do a background check to pick it up. Just like with any other repair bound book or gunsmithing bound book, the same individual that brought it in will be the one that picks it up if they have a designee on that one as well. Then that designee will have to do a background check. That's part of the conversation that we have beforehand to build up that comfort level and to build up repertoire with the individual. So if we do repair, when it's in your bound book, you must legally perform repairs on it. We like to go through, we clean them, maintain them, zero them, whatever it is, we will perform repairs. And as we store that firearm, we make sure the repairs are continued. Okay. That individual then comes to pick up their firearm, get a copy of their driver's license like you do normal, make sure that everything matches, make sure it's the same individual that dropped it off. And then they can pick up your firearm from your bound book with no background check legally required at all. If you would like to do one, you can. Even on the 4473, it says for repair. If you want to submit it on there or the actual purchase or transferee, then later on it says except when it's repairs, they would leave line 1. Question 1 would be blank because they're not a purchaser. They're just picking it up for repair. And if you want to do that background check, they just leave that question blank. It's that simple. Then you go in, do your background check as normal if you want to, and they get their firearm back. Having the conversation with them is paramount beforehand. That way they understand the process. That way they're not surprised when something happens or when there's a change in any reason, because you like to lay it out beforehand. That's part of that building of that relationship with the individual. Because like I said, it's never a, hey, here's my firearm, I'm having a problem. It's a series of conversations for them to get comfortable with you and for you to get comfortable with them.